feels like, you went to a restaurant and you're like, today I'm feeling adventurous. I don't want to order the thing I usually order. I want to try something different. Poor Things. It's been on my to watch list for a long time because it made a lot of people's top 10 like movies of 2023 list. So I'm like, oh, it sounds like it's a good movie. It sounds like it's one of those artsy movies. And I finally watched it. I don't actually know how I feel about it. It's one of the strangest movies I've ever seen. The visuals were gorgeous. This story is kind of like a Frankenstein, but a version of Frankenstein that's not written by Mary Shelley. Basically, this lady, she ends her life, and this scientist, played by William Dafoe, what is his name? Godwin Baxter, decided to revive her. He put the fetus's brain into the mom's head. There should be a word for this. But anyways, she's a toddler in an adult human's body, and she's just been trapped in the house kind of her whole life. Emma Stone was great in this. I'm like, she was so convincing as the character Bella Baxter. It was very intriguing, and I was kind of just waiting to see where this story was gonna go because she was like developing, but at the same time, there wasn't any direction to her development. Godwin Baxter didn't really interfere with her development other than like not letting her go outside or like have contact with the outside world. She wasn't really restrained in any way. Like, she could just do whatever she wanted. She threw tantrums when she didn't get what she wanted. She just kind of played around with herself. There's a lot of adult content and nudity in this. It was a little bit heavy on that aspect. I know they're trying to show like her developing into like a woman. I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from that, to be honest. But I can see why, like, as a kid, if you find something that you really like and it makes you feel good, you want to do it all day long. And I'm like, yeah, like when I eat something I like, I want to eat it all the time too as a kid. And then you grow up and you're like, you're restrained. So maybe it's like a message on like, you should be free to do whatever. But at the same time, it's a very simple pleasure that I feel like the more you do it, the less pleasure or happiness it brings you because you get used to it. They didn't really go into that. I'm just like, you see a lot of people doing like dopamine detoxes. They didn't explore that too much in this. But yeah, so one day he like hires this guy, Max McCandles, to come and like take notes on Bella, like basically observe Bella. Straight up in the beginning when he meets Bella, she's like trying to punch his face because she's an unhinged toddler. And then the only thing he's focused on is how pretty she is. And I'm just like, okay, this Max guy is kind of weird. Then he ends up kind of falling for her, and that was also kind of strange. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of strange. He doesn't notice that she's literally just this baby running around like all crazy. He's just bewitched in a trance. I don't know. I just could not wrap my head around like what he saw in Bella. I don't know, maybe that was supposed to represent something. That was supposed to say something about men. Godwin Baxter, he's trying to like get Max and Bella together so they can all live as a happy family in the house for the rest of eternity. So yeah, before they get married, there's this guy that comes to write a contract, and he's played by Mark Ruffalo. This man named Duncan Wedderburn. You can tell he's not exactly a good person right off the bat. He's kind of like one of those predator types, and he convinces Bella to basically travel the world with him because she's been trapped in this house and she's kind of curious. She's very curious about the world and she wants to go out and explore. She's adventurous and she wants to go. And so she does escape. Mark Ruffalo actually did a great job playing this role as well. They go to a lot of different cities in Europe. They travel to like Lisbon, Portugal, and they have egg tarts. And egg tarts is another one of those things where she like loved it and she just wanted to eat so much of it. And I think at this point, like, she hasn't learned restraint yet. Anything that brings her pleasure, she's just gonna keep doing it. She and Duncan have a lot of sex, which they call furious jumping. In the beginning, he's like this guy that's like very confident. He's like, yeah, I'll give you the best furious jumping you've had in your life. And not all guys can do this like I can. And she doesn't really believe it because she's only done it with him at this point, and she's kind of curious to experience furious jumping with other people. And then Duncan's like, he wants to keep her for himself, even though he's slept around quite a bit. But he doesn't think a woman should do that. And she doesn't understand this concept, obviously. She's just like, I should be free to do whatever I want. Throughout this whole trip, she kind of takes him on this roller coaster where she's like very uncontrolled and he's trying to control control her. She kind of like breaks away from him. And throughout this journey, she also grows up a lot. She matures a lot, which felt also kind of strange because the whole time I'm like, so how old is she mentally? They never really hint at how old she is mentally. She just develops really fast. Even her language skills. In the beginning, she could barely form like complete sentences. By the end of the adventure, she's like very sophisticated. Her logical reasoning skills are like pretty solid. She's able to differentiate what kind of people she wants to associate with and what kind of people she doesn't. I find it interesting that she cared so much about other people because she grew up as a privileged kid. I was just surprised she wasn't this sort of spoiled narcissistic kid that I would assume kids would turn out to be if you didn't discipline them or if you didn't guide them in a certain direction. I feel like if you just let them freely develop, most of them wouldn't develop like this. So that was also interesting to see. In the whole movie, though, it just felt like she was elevated. She was in this elevated area and she was always looking at the world from above. And the way she engaged with the world was it seemed natural, but at the same time, it didn't seem that natural. She ends up going to a brothel to work as a prostitute. For her, it's just like, oh, I get to do furious jumping and I get to make money while doing it. This part was also really weird because I don't think she ever learns why society looks down upon it, or maybe I just missed it. I don't know if the movie was trying to say you're supposed to be fine with it all. I'm surprised she didn't get an STD or she didn't get pregnant. I guess if things work out so great, it's fine. You don't have to be tied down by societal standards. She goes back to Godwin and Max because Godwin is sick with cancer now. And I think that was actually a really emotional scene when she finally confronted Godwin and then he finally told her the truth. She's really actually in her mother's body. And she was just like, I didn't agree to have this kind of a life, but she was also glad that she got to experience life. So I think that's a really good message of acceptance. And then she's also talking with Max. He seems like he's okay with her doing all these things because he's like, oh yeah, you should be allowed to freely do whatever. And I'm just like, damn, Max is a very rare type of human being that I have never met. So yeah, he seemed nice. He seemed a little bit too nice. At the end, she also meets her previous husband or her mother's husband or her dad. I guess her real dad, because she's like, I'm curious to find out why my mom was so depressed that she decided to jump off a bridge. And then the dad, he's kind of the dad, isn't he? He is the dad. And he's just like this crazy dude that just carries around a gun and is just threatening people all the time. And he tries to trap her in the house, but she escapes. So I'm glad she escaped, but I'm just like, damn, she is so brave. I am so surprised that she did so many things and she never really got hurt. She didn't even really get emotionally hurt. She didn't get physically hurt. And she didn't get emotionally heartbroken, really, did she? She was just heartbroken because she saw the suffering in the world. There was nothing consequential to her actions. Isn't it kind of strange? It's kind of strange, right? But I guess it's just art. So you're just supposed to appreciate the beauty of life. Is that the point? What am I supposed to take away from this story? I'm so confused. This is not my type of movie. It's obviously gone over my head. I don't understand. I probably just butchered every single point this movie was trying to make. There was a little bit too much furious jumping. It kind of overshadowed a lot of other things that I kind of wish they would have focused on more, but I guess the furious jumping aspect is supposed to be important because you're supposed to learn consent and you're supposed to learn that predators are out there and we need to learn how to protect ourselves. It's just a metaphor. It doesn't actually mean you should go out there and do all of this stuff. It just means that we as women should feel less restrained by society and we should have the freedom to do what we want. I just missed the whole thing. Oh my god. Can somebody explain this movie to me if you've seen it? If any of you who are watching this video have seen this movie, can you please explain to me like what I'm supposed to take away? Because I'm just very confused.